Hi, I'm Chazz Palminteri, and welcome to the Chazz Palminteri podcast. Okay, how to audition. You know, you can't get the job unless you know how to audition. I mean, so many wonderful actors are wonderful actors, but they can't audition. They suck at auditioning, and they never get the part. You know how many times I hear that? You know, I teach a class on how to audition, a master class. I do it maybe twice, 3 times a year at One-on-One Studios, 34 West 27th Street, One-on-One. If you want to go, you can call them up when I'm teaching the class and come. But how to audition? Most actors don't know how to audition. They get all inside their head. What is the secret to auditioning? If I had to say, it's 3 things. You have to do these 3 things to give a good audition. No matter what you do, no matter what you're working on, how intense you get, your development of the character, the scene means bullshit. Unless you do all 3 things. Okay, what is the first thing? The most important thing. The first thing, relaxation. You must be relaxed. You have to be. Because if you're not relaxed, you're not going to give a good audition. You know, it's like a ball player. It's like a baseball player, right? You know, when a baseball player's in a slump and he's like 0 for 20, he's up at the plate and he's tight. You know, he's holding that. He's looking at the ball, waiting to come. And the ball looks like a BB. He can't hit it because he wants to get a hit so bad. And he'll never get a hit. He'll go 0 for 40. But as soon as he gets his confidence back and he's relaxed, they go on a streak. It's the same thing with an actor. The ball looks like it's a beach ball. It's coming to the plate. Unless you're relaxed, you cannot use your instrument. What is your instrument? You. You are the instrument. It's not like a piano player, a trumpet player, a guitar player. You are the instrument. You have to be relaxed so you could use all of the, I call them valves inside of you. So relaxation is the first thing. How many times have you done a scene and you say, oh, I wish I could do it over again? And the director goes, you know what? Take a breath and do it over again. It's always better the second time. It's always better. Why is that? Why is it when he tells you to walk outside the room, take 10 minutes and come back and do it again, it's always better? Why? Because you're relaxed. That's why. The second key, know your lines. But it's a trick I teach my actors. At least know the first page off book or the first 3 exchanges, first 4 exchanges off book. Why? Because most of the time we make up our mind in the first 20 seconds. Oh, this guy could act. Oh, this girl can't act. Oh, she can't. Oh, she could act. She can't. You know, you don't know. But we make up our mind right away. So come out there, know where you're coming from. It's called the moment before. No, don't get into the scene like halfway through it or quarter way through it. You have to be into the scene from the first line. Know those lines cold so you could look at them and respond. And that brings me to my third point. Listen to the other actor. Listen to what he's saying to you. That's very important. Don't just act and say your lines without reacting to what they're saying to you. Okay, so let's go over it again now. The 3 things that are most important in an audition. Relaxation, know your lines, especially the first page at least, and listen to the other actor. When I say know your lines, I don't mean don't make the script an enemy. At least make the first page you're off book. And then it's okay to look at it and do your lines. It's okay if you have to. But the first page is the most important. That's when we make our decision right there. I mean, some actors, they bring in props. You want to talk about destroying your audition? You bring in a prop. I had an actor once who brought in a fake gun in a scene. I was like, whoa, what are you doing? He says, well, I thought it would really get me into the... No, people, we don't know if it's a real gun, a fake gun. We're not looking at you anymore. We're looking at the gun. What the hell's going on? No, you're taking me out of the scene. I had an actor tell me about the bag of potato chips he had. He said, Chazz, well, it called for a guy doing a scene eating potato chips. I said, okay. He goes, so I brought in a bag and I was eating them while I was doing the scene. So I said, you brought in a real bag of potato chips, all that sound and noise, crackling, biting, and he goes, and you did the scene that way? He goes, yes. I thought it would get me into the scene. I said, oh, really? I said, do you think that after they looked at all the tapes, they went back and said, hey, but did you see the guy with the real potato chips? Those were real potato chips. He used real ones. You think they give a shit? You think they care about your real potato chips? They care about the actor. The real potato chips, the sounds are going to be distracting. It can get in your teeth. It can go down the wrong pipe. You could choke. Never bring real things like that. I had another scene once. I was, in my class, the audition class. I gave them a scene, and the beginning of the scene, he walked all the way to the corner of the room. And I mean, the way corner of the room, and started the scene there. And I'm like, with his back to us. And I'm like, hey, ho. I said to him, why are you there? He says, well, I mean, it says in the script, he's all the way in the other side of the room with his back to the audience. And I said, oh. I said, so if it said that you were hanging outside a window, you going to open up the window and hang out the friggin' window? He goes, no, and the class was laughing, and I felt a little bad, but I said, look, it's an audition. It's not, you're not doing the scene like in theater. You just walk to the side a little bit, turn your back. That's all. We get it. But, actors, they destroy themselves in an audition. They come in, their hair is over their eyes. I tell the ladies, please, and the men too with long hair, they do a scene in their hair. They're doing it like this, and their hair is like this. I can't see their eyes. I can't see their face. Take your hair out of your face so we can see it. And then actors come in and they want to be your friend right away. Oh, hi, Mr. Palminteri. How are you? Hey, I know you're a Yankee fan. How are those Yankees doing? I don't want to hear that shit. Don't try to be my friend. Go in there wanting to do the work. Be a professional. That's why I teach my actors technique. There's a technique into auditioning. Okay? The first thing, besides the 3 things that I taught you in the beginning, those are the most important. Once you have that down, relax, know your lines, listen, react, listen to the other actor. You have to develop a mindset. Very, very important. You have to walk into the audition. Before you walk in, this is what I tell my actors. I used to do this technique. I would sit in a chair, and I would have a light bulb going on right near where my belly button was, inside. And I would close my eyes, and I would feel that light getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it would go all over my torso, down my extremities, my arms, my legs, all the way to my fingertips, all the way to the nails, all the way to the tips of my toes, up through my face, my eyes, my ears, in my hair, to the tips of my hair. And I would just concentrate on this light. I was this beacon of light. And I would wait, and they would call my name, say, Chazz Palminteri, you're next. I would walk in. And this is a technique I teach my actors. You walk into the room, and you make the people there shit. Dust, dirt. You put dust on them, dirt. And you are this light, and you make them nothing. And the reason why I do that is because you want nothing from them. Nothing. Because if you want their love And if you want them to say how great you are and if that was terrific, you are in trouble. You are. Because maybe you won't get it. Maybe one of them will turn their head. Maybe one of them will get on a cell phone, on a call. Maybe one of them will get up and leave the room for some important reason. And if that happens, you will crumble. You'll crumble because you'll say, oh my God, they hate me. They hate me. And once that happens, you get tight, you forget the 3 rules, and you're done. You're done. So you make them dirt, dust, gone. Then it's just you and the other actor. You don't even care that they're there. You don't even know that they're there. What is your job? What is it? To give a great audition. That's all you have to do. And once you finish the audition, you say, they look at you, say, thank you very much. You say, thank you. And don't look at them and wait for like some feedback, an answer. When is this shoot? Oh my God. Should I keep the script? Oh my God. You know, all the director has to say is, you know, you can hold on to the script. Oh my God. He said, hold on to the script. Oh my God. Then you tell all your friends. He said, keep the script. That's got to mean something. And then I looked at him and he said, okay, good job. And you start like analyzing everything, every moment of the audition, and that will drive you crazy. Audition, walk out the door, and forget it. Forget it. I know it's hard. I've been there. I know with the rent money, they're going to shut your lights off. It's hard. And you want that part so bad and that job so bad. But you know what? You have to do it this way. And why do I teach my actors to do it this way? Because it's the only way you'll survive. You'll get cut down and beat down so many times, you won't be able to handle it. What, you think you're going to get every audition that you go for? Forget it. If you get 2, 1 out of 20, be happy. So you got to go through 20 times. Say to yourself, why am I getting nervous for? Why? I'm probably not going to get it. Let me just go in there and give a great audition. And I argue with people about that sometimes. They say, well, that's negative, Chazz. I said, no, it's not negative. No, it's not. No, it's the only way to survive. Negative is you say, I suck, I didn't do a great job. That's negative. But if you go in there and give a great audition, you walk out and say, hey, I'm happy. I nailed it. You know why? Because that's what's in your control. You can't control what these people think. Some of them are very talented. Some of them are not. You might get an untalented casting director. You might. A lot of them are very talented. You don't know. You might get one that just doesn't get you, just doesn't like you. Many times, and I say this many times, the best actor doesn't get the part. Now, how does that make sense, you say? The one who has the right amount of talent, who's right for the part, gets it. Not the best actor. The best actor, a lot of times, doesn't get it. So this guy who gave the best audition, but wasn't right, goes home and says to himself, wow, I didn't get a call back. I must have really sucked. Not knowing, I thought he was the best actor. He just wasn't right for the part. It's a crapshoot. You don't know. I auditioned for it was a pilot many years ago, before I was famous. And I auditioned, and I thought I gave a great audition. I mean, I just nailed it. And then we did on camera. The last thing was between me and another guy, and both of us did a, on camera audition. And I was perfect for the part. And I didn't get it. The other guy got it. And, I was upset by it, but I understood and I forgot about it. Years later, I ran into one of the producers of that show. And I said, hey, how you doing? He goes, oh, hi. He goes, yeah. I said, oh, yeah, you did that show. He goes, yeah. He goes, let me tell you something about what happened, Chazz. He said, you were everybody's first choice. I said, oh, that's nice to hear. He said, the reason why you didn't get the part was the creator of the show thought that you reminded him of the guy that stole his wife from him. Wow. And I was like, what? He said, yeah. I looked exactly like this guy when his wife divorced him, that the guy that she went with. Now, how the hell could that stop you from getting a part? But it did. So sometimes you just don't know why you're not going to get the part. It's not because you gave a bad reading, not because you weren't good. I mean, and if you weren't good, then that's something you have to work on.
How much of being an actor is rejection?
How much, a lot of, that's true. A lot of the questions that I get, if you always want a question, send me a question here at Chazz Palminteri at gmail.com. A question that just came in is, how much of an actor's life is being rejected? I would say all of it. All of it. It's always no. The answer is mostly no. Get it in your head. I don't care if you go on 50 auditions. What do you think, you're going to get 50 or 25 of them? No. Be happy the ones you get. What's more important is that you give a great audition as opposed to getting the part, because that will build strength, development, technique. Technique. There's a technique to audition just as there is a technique into acting. But in auditioning, it's different. What do you have to do to give a great audition? You have to show them what you have. Show them your range in that audition. Especially if he directs you again. You want to show them that you can go from A to somewhere to Z, not from A to A+. Because then he knows, especially when a person gives you direction and you can't do it. So you want to show the casting people that, hey, I could hit a lot of notes. I could be sad, then I could go from sadness to anger, then from anger to pain, sorrow. Acting is like it's like having a little valve inside your stomach, you see? And after years of acting, I could turn on any one of those valves at any time. You know, just switch right off. Boom, 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 boom. And that's what makes acting exciting. And that's what makes it real. And that's what makes people want to look at you. It's playing opposite the lines. Like I could look at someone right now and say, I hate you. And what does that mean? That means I really hate you. Or I could look at you and go, I hate you. That means I hate you because I love you so much. You see? So you play against the lines sometimes. Playing against the lines is a great technique, especially in auditioning. If you're supposed to be angry. I remember my first one of my first auditions for something big was for a musical. Excuse me, it wasn't a musical, it was a play. It was an off-Broadway show called A Guy's in the Truck. And it was off-Broadway first, before it got to Broadway, which then I became the understudy. But for the off-Broadway show, it said, this guy Sal comes in and is threatening the guy. He wants the money. You got to give me the money. If you don't, things are going to be... And all of a sudden, I heard everybody go in there, and they were yelling. They wanted the money. Sal, you had time, and all this other stuff. And I just thought about the technique, and I went in there, and I played opposite the lines. I went in there, and I said, You didn't pay on time, huh? Sal says he wants the money, you know. And I was so menacing because I played opposite it. I kept the menace, but I played it softer. And then had the menace just shoot out like lightning. And that's how I got the part. So sometimes it's good. It's really good to play opposite the lines. I mean, I learned that from bouncing in New York. Because when you're a bouncer, sometimes you have to, they used to call me the Perry Como of bouncers. Why did they call me the Perry Como? For people who are too young to know who Perry Como was, he was like the sweetest, nicest singer in the world. Always so nice, quiet, really, really nice. And I would always speak to the guys. Like they would come up and start fighting, wanting to get in. I would say, guys, come on. Listen to me. You're not going to want to go in there. It's a party. It's not for you. It's this, it's that. It's a private party. Try to understand. You know what? There's a club around the corner. Why don't you go there? And I was always nice. Now, I had friends of mine who were bouncers who weren't as nice as I was. But sometimes you had to use those guys. So I would be nice to a certain extent. And then as soon as it got to be a little violent, I would turn to my friends and say, okay, they're all yours. And why am I going off on this rant? But it's just a funny story. I had one friend who I won't say his name, but he was 6'5", big, strong guy. And he was the first one I ever see get anybody in the sleeper hold. Like if you watch UFC now, they choke you out. He was doing this 30 years ago. And all of a sudden, like some guy would be getting smart with me, and I would call him, and he would come over, and he would spin the guy around and get him in a sleep and put him. And as soon as he got him in a sleeper, we would all yell, all the bouncers, "Oh no, not the sleeper!" And the guy would go to sleep, and he would take him out of the club.
That would be the last thing he would hear.
And that's true, Dante. That's my son there. The last thing he would hear is, "Oh no, not the sleeper."
Be very confused.
And we talked about that for years and years. But getting back to auditioning, sometimes I go off into these stories.
When you were a bouncer, how would you make some extra money on the side?
How would I? Well,
Bouncing.
Oh well, in fact, you know how Studio 54 was. My son, he loves these stories. So before I get back into auditioning, what I would do was, and I was auditioning, I was acting. I was doing that. I was the front guy at the Limelight. Remember the Limelight in New York? I started there in 1982. I worked there for a few years. I was the guy at the door. So I would always have to sacrifice one person. You couldn't tell everybody how to give me money to get in, but I would pick a nice couple. They would come in. I would shake the guy's hand, right? And then I would look in my hand, and hide it from everybody. There was nothing in it. And I would go, and put it in my pocket. And as soon as I would do that, everybody would go, oh, that's it. And everybody would rush him. Man, I used to say, Jackson's my favorite president. Jackson. So that told them 20. It was at least a 20. And so sometimes it was acting. So I was always like an actor. These are stories that I love to tell about my life. Lee Strasberg used to say to me, the best actors are the ones who lived. Why is it that some actors who spend time in jail, not everybody should spend time in jail, don't get me wrong, or they had tough times, they were a drug addict, or they were horror stories about their family, they ran away from home. Not saying that you can't have a happy life and be good. I had a wonderful mother and father. But I lived. I was a lead singer in a rock band. I traveled all over the world. I was a bodyguard. I bounced. I lived. I grew up in a rich, incredible neighborhood that had violence, but also had great times and great heart. So I think as an actor, you have to live a little bit. And if you don't live a little bit, then read a lot. Read as much as you can. The more you read, the more you get ideas. I remember, traveling across to Europe with Woody Allen on a private jet, and he read the whole time. His face was always in a book, always. And I realized why. He just reads, and he's so prolific and just writes a movie every year. And he gets great ideas from, I guess, reading so much. And I never forgot that. And so I try to read as much as I can. I think that's really important, especially if you want to be a writer or an actor or a director, especially those things. Or you just want to be well-rounded. That's why I think college is so important. Not that maybe because you go to college just to, get a better job, which it will help you, but to meet new people, get new experiences, to be well-rounded as a person. I think that's very important. And I think when you audition for someone, sliding into that back again, when you audition for someone, you're showing them who you are in the audition. People used to say acting is about putting a mask on. No, I don't believe that. I believe acting is taking the mask off, showing you who I am. Now, obviously, when you play a murderer, you're not a murderer, but you're showing a part of you that if someone pushed me to this, I could do that. I know it sounds strange, but you have to believe it and go there as an actor. Why do you look at some actors and you say, wow, I like that person? Because they're honest. Because when they look at you, there's not a false moment. You believe them. You believe everything they say. I did a movie with great cast with Sean Penn called Hurly Burly. And Sean is one of the great actors. One of the great actors, absolutely. And if you look at the scene, where I'm slapping him and he's sitting down at the couch and I'm so angry with him and he calls me a prop. He says, look at you, Hollywood uses you like a prop. And I keep smacking him to admit the truth. And he said, smack me. And I said, I'm a big guy. I got a hand like a catcher's mitt. And I'm smacking him. And he said, no, harder. And I said, Sean, I'm going to hurt you. Smack me. And the camera was rolling and I smacked him. Oof. And it affected me as much as it affected him. I mean, do you have to do that? Do you have to hurt somebody? No. But as actors, we both understood this is what we wanted.
You remember when you smacked me for my audition?
Yes.
Orange is the New Black?
My son was auditioning. That's my son Dante talking there. My son auditioned for Orange is the New Black. If you see an episode of the young boy committing suicide, jumping off the roof. I kept wanting him to get there. I said, you got to get to that point, that height, Dante, when I was helping him with his audition. And he was doing it, and he's a good actor, my son, but he couldn't understand going that far. So I grabbed him by his lapels, and I said, now do the scene, and do it, and I smacked him. And he looked at me, and I smacked him again, hard. I said, now do it again. And he started to get mad. I said, yeah, fight, God, now do the scene. And then he did it. And he understood where he had to go for it to be real. And he auditioned and did get the part.
You sometimes slap a lot of actors.
I've slapped a lot of actors, yes.
You're known for that.
But I only actors, yes, I am known for that, but only actors who I ask permission first. I say, are you allowing me to do anything I want to you to get you to the part?
Yeah,
and he says,
big.
yes. I said, are you sure? And they say, yes. I say, okay. I will not slap a woman. I will not slap a young child. But a man, if he says to me, you can do anything you want, I will slap him. Yes. And I've done that in movies. I did that in a movie. I forgot the name of the movie. There's like 7 movies I never saw. People don't believe that. There's movies I never saw. I can't remember the name. But the actor kept coming in and doing the scene with me, and wow, I wish I could remember the name, but I can't. He kept coming in, and he didn't get it. He didn't get it. And the director said, look, all right, cut. Well, that's okay. Let's move on. I went to the director. Hey, man, the kid didn't get it. He's got to get it. He's not. And he says, I know, but Chazz, we can't spend all day here. I said, run the camera again. Just run it again. Let's do it again. And the kid walked in. He comes into the scene. I grab him. Whack! Whack! I slap him twice. I said, now do the damn scene. And he just looked at me. And he wanted to punch me in the face. He was not he was not a kid. He was like 27 years old. Do the damn scene. And he did it. And tears started to roll down his eyes. And we did the scene. And the director said, cut. All right, check the gate. And we walked off. And I said to him, you okay? And he looked at me, he started smiling, he says, and he hugged me, he says, thank you. I said, oh, no, it's all right. Don't worry about it. But sometimes, sometimes you got to go there. Auditioning is a humbling experience. I remember I auditioned one of the first times at the Lee Strasberg School. I was in a class. This wasn't the studio. This was the 13th Street back then. Lee Strasberg worked back then. And I was with a woman. What was his name? Ed. I think it was Ed Covens. Mitch. I can't remember his name. Mitch Nestor and Ed Covens. Ernie Martin. That's who it was. A great acting teacher. Ernie Martin, a great acting teacher, and his daughter is a great teacher too. Anyway, we were doing improvs, and they said to this one guy, go in the middle and become a tree. And this guy gets up there. This is my first acting class now. Goes and becomes a tree. He stands there like this. Then she looks and she tells this girl, Jane, to go there and become a rock next to the tree. Jane goes and becomes a rock. She balls up like in a curl and becomes a rock next to the tree. Then she looks at me. Now I'm nervous. I'm praying that she doesn't call me. And she says, Chazz, take a leak. And I said, take a leak? I'm saying to myself, take a leak? I didn't want to say, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't want to sound stupid. But I said, well, it's the park. A man takes a leak in the park, in the woods, right? So I walk over to where the tree is and where the rock is, and I turn my back to the audience, like, I could show you right now. I think I could do it now, right? Yeah. I turn my back to the audience like this. Yeah, right. And I start taking a leak like this. All of a sudden, the tree looks at me, the rock looks at me, the whole class is looking at me like with wide eyes, and the teacher goes, I said leaf, take a leaf from the tree. Well, I was mortified. They laughed for 15 minutes. We couldn't even start the class again because they were laughing so hard. Because I thought she said take a leak by the tree, and she said take a leaf. And I remember 5 years later, I was at an audition, and a guy walked over to me and looked at me and said, hey, were you the guy with the leaf? I never, ever lived that down. I mean, these are horror stories, horror stories that all actors go through. Right there, I didn't know if I was going to act again. I said, that's it. I said, I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to face anybody again. When I would see the actors in class, they would laugh. But you know what? That's what acting is. Acting is not afraid to look foolish. And I had a wonderful director teach me that. Simon McBurney. Simon McBurney is truly one of the great directors I've ever met in my lifetime. Brilliant. And a brilliant actor, too, by the way. But I did a play. Here's the cast. Al Pacino, John Goodman, Steve Buscemi, Billy Crudup, Dom Chinese, Paul Giamatti. I know I'm forgetting. I mean, listen to that cast. I mean, Pacino got was really the one who got everybody. Once we knew Al was doing the play was The Irresistible Rise of Arturo Uri. And I remember the first time we got with the director said, okay, here's I want you to do this scene. He said to me and Al once, do the scene only angry, all anger. And I was like, okay. And every word out of our mouth was anger. Now he said, do the scene all sorrow. We did it all sorrow. Do the scene with every word out of your mouth you want to cry. Overact. I don't care. And I was like, what is going on here? And I said to Al later, I'll never forget that. I said, Al, and he said, just trust him. Trust him. And what he was doing was, he was showing us how far we could go in the scene. Because if you're a really good actor, you know where the line is, because once you go over it, you know. But he wanted to stretch our muscles. And I'm talking about, these are experienced actors, all of us at that time. But he stretched us and moved us, and I took some of that, and I worked on that technique, and I put it into my audition classes on how to audition. And it just worked perfectly. But Simon McBurney is truly a great teacher and a great director and actor. Well, you know what? Yes, I mean, that's a good question. Like when you're a young actor and you work with a big name. I mean, look at me. I never did a movie, and all of a sudden I'm starring opposite Robert. I did one movie. I mean, one big movie before that, and that was Oscar with Sylvester Stallone. But when I met Sly, I mean, he was a great guy, and he was very personable and very nice, and he cared about the work, and he cares about the work. And let me tell you something about Sly Stallone. You know, people make fun of Adrian. Sly Stallone is one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. I mean, the man invented the sequel. I don't care what anybody says. And if you think it's hard, to make one movie, which it is, try making like 15 movies, 5 sequels in each one. That's impossible. That people like. Really, truly one of the smartest businessmen and artists I've ever met. Anyway, and he helped me a great deal, and I've always thanked him for that when he told me to stick to my guns with Bronx Tale. I mean, after Stallone, I worked with Robert De Niro. But you have to say to yourself, hey, I belong here. I worked hard all my life. If you worked hard and you have the discipline that you know you worked hard, then you deserve to be there. Some people who just get given the part, you know what? They do it, but they don't realize how grateful they should be, and they end up blowing it in the end. And that's another story that we could talk about. But if you worked hard, then you belong there. And that's the way I always felt. I belong here. That's all. You have humility. You're working with a major star. You give him the respect that he deserves, of course. But you belong there. Many of us wait for somebody to blow a whistle and say, okay, come on, you don't belong here. Let's go. I'm taking you out of here. If you worked hard, then you belong there. And that's the way you feel. I remember the first time I read with a scene with Bob De Niro. He said, why don't you come to my house after we made the deal? He says, and we'll read the scenes together, you and me. I said, great. So I went over the house, and I went over his apartment in Tribeca at the time. He lived there. And I sat down on the couch, just him and me. And we did some of the Sonny Lorenzo scenes together. And we talked about it, talked about the scenes, and read. And then he says, great, that was great. He says, all right, I'll see you tomorrow, we'll do it again. And I left. And I got in the elevator. I pressed the button. And on my way down, I'm going, I just acted with Robert De Niro, the greatest actor in the world, and I just acted with him. It didn't hit me till I was later. And I went, wow. But then I forgot about it right away because that's not good to hold on to. And each day I would meet Bob and we would talk about it. And the great thing about Bronx Tale was Bob was always one to say, let's see if we can make it better. Let's see if we can make the scene better. And he would look at what I wrote in the one man show, and I would go off and try to make it better. And a lot of times he would say, after I wrote 5 or 6 versions, he'd say, no, let's keep the original. And I'd be like, oh, okay. And after all of this, I said to him once, I said, why, after the movie, I said, why did you put me through that? Keep rewriting things. He was, because I wanted to make sure that was the right way. But some of the things he made me change were actually better. Like, I'll show you a clip when I'm on the stoop with the boy about talking about Mickey Mantle, but Bob didn't want that. He said, no, one of the wise guys should bring you to the bar. And I thought he was right. That was better. But that's how you learn. And that's how you take ideas.
At what point did you look around and go, oh, wow, this is working out for me? Like, did it hit you when you were coming down the elevator? Did you have another moment? Like, when did you realize that you transitioned from, having a dumpy apartment to, like, all this?
Yeah. What it really hit me was when I got the first check, when I got my first check, when I finally got that first big check where I had money, that was really something to me because I had no money. I never had money, ever. I never had a nice car, ever. I was going to be 39 years old, and I never had a car that was nice. I always had a car that was a piece of shit. And it was, you know how it is when you're 38, 39 years old and you don't have a nice car and you meet somebody. It's a terrible feeling. But I always felt that it was going to happen for me. Always. I always felt successful. So I had an interviewer say to me, how does it feel to be a success now? And I said, well, very cocky. I said, well, I've always been a success. Now I'm just famous. And she just looked at me like, look, did I have doubts? Of course I had doubts. Did I have doubts that maybe this won't happen? Maybe they snuck in once in a while, but I always said, no, I'm going to do this. How can you not have doubts at 39 years old? No money, no life insurance, no nothing. I mean, I wanted to get married. I wanted to meet someone, but I never would allow that because I never wanted to get married until I had something to offer, until I had something to bring to the table. Once I made it, no, I never felt like an imposter. I always felt that I belonged there, but it never really hit me until the movie was playing in France. And Bob said to come over because we're going to do some press. And I remember I took the Concorde. I got on the Concorde and I flew there in 3 hours and 15 minutes, which was very exciting. And then I was so tired, I got into the taxi and they were taking me to the Maurice Hotel in Paris. And I fell asleep behind in the back seat. And then I opened my eyes and there was these 2 giant pictures of me and Bob on a billboard. Huge, like on the whole building. I happened to open my eyes right at that moment. And there was Bob De Niro and me looking at each other, a Bronx Tale, And I was like, damn, this is big. I never forgot that. That's a moment. Also, I think on the plane going, another time on a plane, on a private jet with Bob and he was sleeping and I was sleeping, and both of us were the only 2 people on the plane. And in the middle of the night, I kind of opened my eyes and he was sleeping on one side and I was sleeping on the other. And I just said, wow, yep, you're making it, Chazz. You're finally there. Just keep on working hard. Put the blinders on and go forward. That's the key to success. Always go forward. Never go backwards. And don't stop. Even if you go slow, it's okay. Don't stop. Because if you stop, somebody runs over you. So don't stop. So, you know, I know we talked about auditioning, but you know me, I go rant off into my stories. But don't forget about the three most important things in auditioning: relax, concentrate, listen to the other actor. Go in there and make them nothing. Just give a great audition, and you know what? You'll be fine. God bless you, and good seeing you.